On a quiet Wednesday evening last June, inside a church in Charleston, South Carolina, 9 people were murdered, shockingly shot to death in a racial hate crime that stunned our nation and the world. In some other city, an incident of such racial horror might have sparked an outpouring of anger, violence, and certainly divisiveness, driving crowds into the streets, clashes with each other and the police. Instead, something quite different occurred, quite unexpected. The reaction was not one of anger or vengeance, but one of unity and peace. Thousands of residents of Charleston, ordinary citizens, business and community leaders, political leaders and law enforcement came together, led by the congregation of the Emanuel A.M.E. Church and its members who lost loved ones that horrible, horrible night. They came together in the spirit of forgiveness and in peace, not rage and hatred. The expressions of peace and Christian forgiveness flowed beyond Charleston and throughout our nation. We believe that peace among people, not just in Charleston, South Carolina, but across the global community, has been advanced by the example that was set by the Emanuel A.M.E. congregation and the thousands of residents of that community. Their heartfelt expressions of loss, forgiveness, hope for a better future, free from hatred and violence, is a tangible offering that might help move our planet in the direction of peace. That is why I initiated an effort to have the nation and the world acknowledge the example exhibited by this church and the thousands of residents of Charleston, South Carolina, by encouraging the Nobel Peace Prize Committee to give the congregation of Emanuel A.M.E. Church special consideration as they move through their award selection process this year. I want to thank State Senator Donnie Trotter, who helped from the very beginning to forge this initiative. Thank you so much, Donnie. I'd also like to thank Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina for signing on to our initiative, Congressman Bobby Rush, who's here this morning with us. Bobby, thank you so much for your support. Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, Congressman Mike Quigley, for all their support in this process. And I especially want to thank our 2nd District Congresswoman, my Congresswoman, Robin Kelly, for her tireless support and her help trying to forge this relationship and forge this coalition together. Bishop Bryant, we had the opportunity to meet with Bishop Bryant last week, and he's a very busy guy. You know, he's in charge of the A.M.E. Church, oversees 39 countries. He signed on to our initiative as well. And then Elder Goff, who down in South Carolina helped lead us through the process and introduce us to everyone. He was appointed by the bishop to be the pastor since the pastor was murdered on the 17th. Elder Tyson, who traveled with us. Reverend Ozzie Smith. Reverend Dr. my good friend Stephen Lewis from Dixmoor. Pastor, thank you so much for all your support that you've given me over many, many years. Finally, I want to emphasize that this is by no means far-fetched to think that peace among people, not just in Charleston, but across our global community, has been in some small way advanced by the actions, emotions, and response of this church congregation, and especially of those who grieve the loss of their 9 loved ones. I want to thank the Nobel Peace Prize Committee in advance for their consideration of this nomination, and I urge all of you who want to really do something for peace to go to our website, go to www. Nobel Peace Prize for Charleston, and acknowledge the Emanuel A.M.E. Church by signing our petition. We have a number of individuals I'd like to introduce, but before we do that, I'd like to ask Senator Donnie Trotter to come up and say a few words.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Supervisor. You know, on October 14th, 1964, Dr. King asked the question, why was the Nobel Peace Prize being awarded to a movement that has not won the very peace and brotherhood, which was the essence of that prize? He said at the time that the movement that he was receiving the award on behalf of was a movement that was profound in that it recognized that nonviolence to be the crucial political and moral question of our time. He said it demonstrated that nonviolence is not a sterile passivity, but a powerful moral force for which makes for social transformation. He said that was the foundation of their movement. It was the foundation based on love. He called himself a trustee for that award, that he was receiving it for the movement itself. He further said that peace is more precious than diamonds, silver, and gold. Well, it was in that spirit, the spirit that was embraced by Emanuel A.M.E. Church. It was those things that exemplified the movement and also the people of that community who embraced those tenets and those principles. And like Dr. King, they should have the honor to receive this gift because they believe and they showed us, our communities, 52 years later, that that kind of spirit needs to be in the hearts and souls of all of us as we grapple with the violence, as we grapple with the horrific things that happen on a daily basis in our lives. Today, this committee, the Faith, Dignity, and Respect Initiative, is saying that we need the people in Sweden to also recognize that the fight isn't over. The battle continues. And we as a people must understand that we have gone too far to turn back now. And because of that, I stand wholeheartedly with these various elected officials, with the clergy, in saying that we would like to see Emanuel A.M.E. Church be the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize for 2016.
I would also like to thank our other senator from the largest portion of Thornton Township for being here this morning. Just had the opportunity to reach out to him. He's been campaigning all over the state, and that's our good friend, Senator Napoleon Harris. Napoleon, thank you for stopping by with us, and we appreciate your support. Sorry that we just had the opportunity to talk to you about it a few days ago, but we know that you've been busy down in southern Illinois and many other places throughout the state. And then, of course, our Congresswoman, Robin Kelly. We realized we couldn't do this alone, and Robin was a supporter right from the beginning. But she was able to get a lot of the members of Congress to participate. I had the opportunity to talk to Congressman Rush just a few days ago. And I want to thank you, Bobby, for your busy schedule and your seniority in Congress. I'm sure there's lots of other things you could have done, but we appreciate you taking your time out to come and be with us. We certainly support that. And Robin, would you like to say a few words?
Good morning. I want to thank Supervisor Frank Zuccarelli for his initiative and leadership in this effort. This is truly a great idea. Likewise, I want to applaud his team for making this happen. Life is a long and unpredictable journey. Sometimes it presents moments that are truly astounding. We're astounded too often these days by the horrible, heartless, tragic acts of deeply troubled people. I was at the funeral of Reverend Pickney. It was both gut-wrenching and heartwarming. The strength, the compassion, the grace that those parishioners shown that day was truly amazing. Also, our colleague, Congressman Clyburn, he knew every single person that died. So it was good to be there for him because it was gut-wrenching. It still is for him as he has to go back there all the time in his district. One thing that I think about is the Confederate flag, that I believe this incident was an impetus for finally getting that Confederate flag down from that flagpole, which we never want anything like what happened to happen. But if there can be rays of sunshine out of all of this, bringing down that Confederate flag is certainly one of them. And this group, Mother Emanuel winning the Nobel Peace Prize for 2016 would be the other. So thank you again to the team, and we have our fingers crossed.
Congressman Rush, would you like to say a few words?
Good morning to each and every one of you. I'm delighted to be a part of this press conference, this program for the campaign and the efforts, the nationwide efforts to designate and to request that the Nobel Peace Committee grant the Nobel Peace Prize to the Emanuel A.M.E. Church. What a noble effort for the Nobel Peace Prize. What a noble idea. When I think of what the Nobel Peace Prize means, I think of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I think of Nelson Mandela. Two individuals who epitomize what it means to rise beyond and above your daily challenges, for your own life's challenges, and to reach for something that the world is not too familiar with, and that is peace. Someone said not too many years ago that violence is as American as apple pie. And that would be hard for us to argue against in these days, in these times. That's what the world wants us to believe about ourselves. But I believe in my heart, just as Dr. King and many, many others, that peace is also a part, or can be just as American as apple pie. I want to applaud Supervisor, Committeeman Zuccarelli, and his brilliant team for the brilliance of this moment, this idea, this thought. I intend to work hard to do all that I can to join with others to influence the decision of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, the Nobel Prize Committee. This is an idea that should bring all of us together as Americans. An idea that should bring Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals, black, white, all of America should be able to come together around this idea, around this action, around this one objective. We will be much better off as a people if we can take the tragedy of Charleston, of Mother Emanuel, the sacrifice of Pastor Pigney, and turn that into an effort where we pronounce peace and we stand in the spirit and the shadow of the spirit of those who are part of this great church, because they forgave the young man who visited violence upon them. I can't think of another church in America that speaks to us more powerfully, more profoundly. Maybe the church at Birmingham, but I really do think that Mother Emanuel, throughout the history of this nation, speaks to us in a way that no other church does, because of its outstanding history and because of its continued contribution to the peace of this nation. Blessed are the peacemakers. Bless Mother Emanuel, and bless Committeeman Supervisor Zuccarelli and all those who are working on this behalf. Thank you.
Now, I'd like to ask for just a brief comment from Senator Napoleon Harris.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you guys for coming today. And I would like to thank Supervisor Committeeman Zuccarelli and his team, Senator Trotter, and all the elected officials who had a hand in this occasion. Not oftentimes do we have an opportunity to do something of this magnitude. And when you think about Mother Emanuel and the tragedy that they've incurred, and the humility and the peace that they've demonstrated, we've seen events around this country, around this world, where not oftentimes that you use the tools in which Mother Emanuel did. For them to go through that horrific tragedy, and yet, on the very next day, on that evening, seek and ask for forgiveness, no malice in their heart. And that's the legacy and the dream that Dr. King talked about, that peace. And that's why I think it's so important that we do what we can to ensure that we do all that we should and can do to make this nomination process a success. So I stand in full support of the nomination process. I know that we have work to do, but there's no other better cause at this time, at this moment, than to see Mother Emanuel take their rightful place as being the next Nobel Peace Prize, because of the humility and the peace that they've demonstrated and the acts of forgiveness to the horrific tragedy that they incurred down there in Charleston, South Carolina. Thank you.
At this time, I will take the opportunity to sign our request to the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, recommending the Nobel Peace Prize for 2016 to be awarded to the Mother Emanuel A.M.E. Church in Charleston, South Carolina. This is just the beginning of our Faith, Dignity, and Respect initiative